Fanfic Corner, presented by Jennifer. Sombra's Midnight Star. Chapter 13. Obsession is not compassion. Part 1. Okay, for those of you who have not yet seen the first few videos for Sombra's Midnight Star, I suggest you go view those now, as this is a continuation of that story. The cave, present. A memory sparked in the mind of the blood-red beast, the creature once known as Antares the Second-Born, as she stirred from her deep slumber. As the blurry memory slowly came into focus, she began to remember the source of her predicament. She remembered the edict to wipe out all things that were unclean. Two days after the erection of Celestia's barrier. By the edict of the second-born and true Queen of Harmony, this edict regards all beings which are not of alicorn descent, whether they be earth ponies, pegasi of the sky, unicorns of magic, kinkajous of Zephivin, wolflings of Lustfer, owlets of Orcian, dragons, yaks, griffins, hippogriffs, grequins, or great beasts of the wild. All creatures not of alicorn descent shall be killed, exterminated, or further obliterated by the hosts of all of the great alicorn race. As it has been decreed, so shall it be enforced. Everybody run! The screams of the unclean pierced the serenity of the calm midsummer morning. The decree had just been ordered, and the alicorns were cashing in on the bloodbath. Blood would flow in the streets like never before. All living Harmonian creatures affected by the edict fled in a mad exodus. But the alicorns were already there to intercept them. A rainbow glow of colors shone from the alicorns' horns. With a deathly beauty, they executed their devastating spell in tandem. The chests of thousands of ponies, kinkages, and other such creatures started to glow white. A great cry sounded from these creatures as the white light grew even brighter. Then, crack! Their chests ruptured with a mighty boom. The last thing the unclean ones saw was their still beating hearts floating in the air above them. The hearts of the fallen few flew towards the gaping maws of the bloodthirsty alicorns. The clean ones devoured the hearts in seconds. Delicious blood escaped their lips as they descended on the crowd en masse. Blood streamed in twin rivers down the mane like it never had before. The screams of the defeated etched themselves in the old cobblestone roads. A great roar was heard over the massacre. Everything stopped at the sound. The alicorns turned in the direction of the interruption and the sound that had ruined their fun. A kinkajou of pure darkness growled down upon the alicorn as she absorbed the light of death with her 10 tails and eagle wings. Her ice-blue eyes burned in hatred and malice for the alicorn that dared to feast upon her progeny. The drumbeats of battle appeared to pound inside her chest as she prepared her claws for the fight. Alicorn blood would mix with the blood of the unclean once she was done. "The Great Mother is here to save us!" shouted a lone kinkajou. A cheer rose from her race as Zephyr roared the battle cry of the Great Mother. With a mighty leap, she descended upon the alicorn race. One by one, the horned pegasi fell prey to her mighty claws and teeth. Her speed was unmatched, her incisors tearing into one alicorn after another. Nothing would destroy or harm one of her children, for if they did, they would face the wrath of the Great Mother of the kinkajous. The alicorn spells, though all aimed at the ebony antagonist, missed their mark again and again, for though alicorns may have been fast, their speed could not compare to the speed of the kinkajou, and the fastest was Zephyr. But for every alicorn she felled, 5 more escaped her grasp and rose to fight. Numerous were the alicorns, and there could be only one mother. She planned to sacrifice herself to save the last few of her children. An alicorn horn pierced one of her hind legs. She roared in pain and ripped the alicorn's head clean off its body. She punted the head away from her. Noticing her pain, the alicorns saw their opportunity. They charged at her with their horns. A red light flashed as the alicorns continued to charge a mere 2 or 3 paces away from their target. A beast of blood and onyx appeared in the path of the alicorns. He let out a mighty growl, shaking the ground of the battlefield. His red eyes pulsed with rage, and green and purple smoke escaped when he bared his teeth at the offenders. Alicorns began a hasty retreat, but he would not let them escape. Using a deadly combination of teeth, wings, and magic, he decimated the alicorns who were ready to pounce on Zephyr. Laughing, Zephyr yelled, "Leave some for me, Sombra. I may be old, but not as old as you." Sombra smiled despite himself as blood flowed down his muzzle. "You want a piece of the action?" He laughed as he turned towards his longtime friend. "Ladies first. Let us slaughter these abominations as they slaughtered my star. Together." "Together," echoed Zephyr. Let's save the morning until our vengeance is complete." "Agreed. Did you just use a contraction?" "These are dangerous times." With those words, they descended upon the alicorns, ready to avenge their kin. The battle lasted until the stars awoke from their slumber. With no one to raise the moon, the battle was cast into darkness. With only the warning waning lights of stars and pulse of magic illuminating the night. At long last, the final alicorn fled into the darkness. The battle was finally over, but not without a heavy cost. What once was a city with over 1 billion inhabitants was now a flood of blood surrounding the surviving 100 souls. Zephyr bled from multitude of wounds. Her current form was tall, towering over the tallest building. She grinned with bloodlust as she searched for her next prey. The last remaining non-alicorn inhabitants huddled behind her and Sombra. "I think it's over," she whispered quietly, not wanting to disturb the peace. Sombra just narrowed his eyes. Crack. They turned around to find a purple glowing crystal emerging from the ground where the last of the souls lay. In a blink of their eyes, the crystal impaled the last 100 souls left in Harmonia. "No!" screamed Zephyr as she ran towards the remains of her children. Red magic overtook her, dragging her several inches away from the crystals. Sombra wrapped his wings around the kinkajou as she mourned the loss of her children. Kinkajous, ponies, wolflings, dragons, all were on display in macabre art, bodies slowly dissolving into crystals. Laughter rang out amongst the crystals. A blood-red alicorn, with black veins pulsing purple, emerged. Elation radiated from black eyes as she surveyed the carnage. Green and purple smoke billowed from her eyes, and black smoke scorpions crawled in and out and alongside her. She chuckled as she looked at the shocked faces of Zephyr and Sombra. "Do you like my present, Sombra? It's to commemorate the death of that thorn in my side, Midnight Star." She laughed and spun around in a circle. This has got to be my best work yet. Is it not beautiful?" Her eyes landed on Sombra expectantly. "Well?" Sombra sneered in disgust. "It's absolutely disgusting. Positively retching, revolting. How on Harmony's good green world would you expect that I would enjoy such honors? Do not ever speak of my mate in such words again." Antris stepped back in surprise. She quickly composed herself, however, and shook her head and chuckled. "I forgot that you are not enlightened like me. I have the void creature Leo ready for you to absorb, just as I absorbed Scorpio. I would have thought that the death of that idiotic four-hoofed trash which clung ever so close to your side would open your eyes to see that she was getting in the way of your best interests. But I guess you were blind from the start," she growled. The purple and green smoke swirled feverishly as her face twisted in anger. "So it was you who killed my mate and unborn filly." Sombra released and stepped around the kinkajou sitting distraught at his side. "I shall rend your entrails from your body and repart what remains piece by piece until there is nothing left." "Me? Ha! Kill Midnight Star? Oh, I wish I could have gotten my hands on that miserable creature. Oh, wait a minute. Did you say unborn filly? You had an unborn filly with that thing? How could you, Sombra? You were supposed to be mine." And Tilly screamed, pushing Sombra and Zephyr back a few paces. Sombra shook himself loose of the magic-induced stupor, which took hold. He turned to find Zephyr, the kinkajou's ears tilted back, teeth bared, ready to strike. Before Sombra could do anything to stop her, Zephyr launched herself with a mighty battle cry at Antares. "No!" Sombra cried out in dismay as his only living friend charged towards her inevitable demise. Antares grinned in bloodlust as she prepared for the oncoming slaughter. Violet crystals shot out of the ground and sped towards the raging kinkajou. Right before the crystals touched her, or before Zephyr laid a claw on Antares, Zephyr exploded in a cloud of navy glitter. His once proud friend dissipated in a cloud and was reduced to sparkling navy dust. In 3 days he had lost 4 of the only beings he had ever loved unconditionally. This was all the Alicorn's fault, and Terra's fault, and the fault of Celestia and her barrier. Midnight could have made it, were the rules such that only Alicorns could not enter, but she fell prey to the barrier as well. The blood that had been spilled today would forever rest on her shoulders. He would mourn later. Now he would destroy Antares. But he did not want to taint his soul with the addition of hers. He needed to find some other way to destroy her. Oh wait, that could work. Gathering magic so ancient it preceded the world, Sombra the Firstborn stood and allowed his body to become a vessel of living power. Void magic, unlike that of any void creature whom Antares possessed, boiled just under his skin. The violet void crystal formed at his hooves. Antares' creature Scorpio and its brethren were able to summon these crystals, and, by extension, Antares was able to summon the crystals as well. But Sombra was the only being in the world capable of creating crystals on his own. The first spell he cast with this magic was a protection used to block Antares' magic. Black crystals formed on her horn, keeping her from using her magic. No magic flared in his horn when he created the crystals. The only indication he had used magic was a flash of white light in his eyes. With a dark chuckle, the black alicorn cast violet-black crystals underneath Antares' hooves. 4 crystals arose, impaling each leg, 1 crystal per limb. A 5th gigantic crystal blasted its way through her stomach. Bloody entrails, lungs, and 2 hearts were hung from the tip of the crystal. So wide was this crystal that it stretched her hide as much as the hide would stretch without tearing. But Sombra was not yet finished. He sent another crystal careening into her chin and exiting out the top of her head. Her blood flowed freely, feeding the crystal that caused her such anguish and torture. Sombra walked up to the pitiful creature that had been the instigator of the nightmares of Harmonia. He inclined his head to her ear and whispered, "By these crystals, I now know you did not lay a hoof on my star. However, you manipulated the one who killed her. She will not be pardoned either. Because of her treachery, the barrier is up. As a last kindness, since you love these crystals so much, you will spend the rest of eternity with them underground. Goodbye, Antares. I hope your eternity is kinder to you than mine is to me." At this, he sent her far below ground. He felt his magic create a chamber and seal the door against her freedom. He took to the sky to find the last remaining life outside the barrier in hopes of saving it.